The best of the week on Relevant Radio.
Here's a note from Ann. She's in Holly, Michigan. And this is a little bit about AI. So she says, I'm listening to a past show, a conversation about AI, and Elon Musk's comments are alarming to say the least. It seems that he is glorifying the idea of not having to work or study, but what do we lose? We lose the opportunity to develop virtue. We are not meant to live lives of leisure. I'm a homeschooling mom, and while I see some good things coming from technology with regards to educating my children, we have to be much more vigilant. My two oldest boys are 17 and 18. My 18-year-old just completed his first year of college. As the year went on, I could see physical changes in him, signs maybe of a tech addiction. Thankfully, he recognized it too. This summer, he has been working 40-plus hours a week between two physically demanding jobs. I have not seen him this calm and happy in a very long time. It makes my mom heart happy. But it also drives home the need of our bodies and minds to be actively engaged and to have a purpose. The way that Elon Musk talks, that will be taken away from us. I predict the rates of depression, anxiety, suicide, etc. will skyrocket. We thought social media was bad. This is so much worse. Well, Ann, thank you. That's a very thoughtful and penetrating analysis of the question. Now, I don't have that audio clear in my mind, but I'm pretty sure I was playing some audio of Elon Musk talking about the predicted dramatic decrease in the cost of basic living necessities, including energy and foodstuffs and things that we need day to day. His prediction is that the cost to produce this will become de minimis to the point where it will just not be, it won't conform, let's say, to the traditional prevailing model where you pay for your electricity and you pay for your bread and butter and eggs and such. Now, I think there must always be some sort of a hard cost attached to certain things like that. But if I remember the particular audio that you have in mind, he's predicting that we will never have seen anything like what he predicts is coming in terms of how inexpensive everything will become. And there's more to it, and I don't claim to fully understand all of the complexities of it. But to your point, what he was saying, if this is the same audio that you're talking about, where people will no longer need to work, and one driving factor of that is the companies that produce things won't want human operators because artificial intelligence and robotics will be so sophisticated and advanced that when it comes to things like error rates and the cost of production, this apparently, according to him, is what's going to drive the prices so far down that it wouldn't make any economic sense for a company to employ human beings, for the most part at least, because it could be done so much faster and cheaper and better. And if you could, just imagine for a minute, if you could have free electricity in your home and not have to spend the $200 a month on electricity because it just got to the point where it was so plentiful and inexpensive to produce, you, like I and everybody else, would say, sure, sign me up. I'll take it for free. But that might mean that people who are working for Con Ed or one of the other big electric companies won't have jobs because the electricity will be produced so cheaply that AI and robotics will take care of that. That's a trade-off. But what would you do if you were given the option to say, well, you'll never have to pay for electricity again, and the trade-off is people will have to find other work, or, and this is another part of what Elon Musk is talking about, basic income, universal basic income, or even just universal income that's not merely basic, but it could be quite a bit higher than just the necessities. That seems to be the paradigm shift when it comes to compensating people so that they can have the nice things in life and they'll have leisure. And this maybe is the other part of what you're talking about. Leisure, as Joseph Pieper said, is the basis of society. Leisure is, not work, interestingly. Work is important. Pope John Paul II wrote an encyclical on the importance of work, as did Pope Leo XIII. So there is certainly a dimension that human human work is integral to our identity as human beings, no doubt about that. But is it possible that if the mundane drudgery of production became so automated that human beings didn't have to do that, didn't have to work at a Burger King, didn't have to dig ditches, didn't have to, fill orders in an Amazon warehouse, didn't have to think of anything? One possible upside to this is it would give so much free time that it would facilitate people being creative and doing work that brought them pleasure. And I don't mean base pleasures, but just pleasure in general. Writing, art, traveling, exploring, tinkering, inventing, more time for personal interaction, more time for family togetherness, where dad doesn't have to go off to work every day and can be part of the process of you teaching your children. Family togetherness in other ways as well. I mean, I see some real potential upsides there. I think maybe the difference between your perception of it and mine might be, like the old, is the glass half full or half empty kind of thing. And I can see it from both sides. My sense is that you're seeing this from a glass is half empty side, that it would inevitably lead to a kind of devolution of human activity to the point where everybody is playing video games 20 hours a day, or everybody is glued to social media. Now, those things do exist for some people today. But my last thought is that technology changes, human beings don't. We're the same in every generation. We're conditioned by our environment. We're conditioned by the mores and assumptions that our culture imposes upon us. That's true. We're conditioned by them, but we're not enslaved to them. But people and human nature specifically are the same in every generation. So I remember reading and perhaps even seeing it dramatized in maybe movies or something like that. But when the Industrial Revolution got into high gear, pun intended, there were people who were worried that, well, if we don't send Junior out to churn the butter, because now we have a butter churning machine that we didn't used to have, he will be idle and he'll get into mischief and have problems. And that didn't really happen. Washing machines, vacuum cleaners, dishwashers, microwave ovens, all the appliances that we take for granted now. There was a time when some people were worried that they would plunge society into a kind of indolent devil's workshop environment where you didn't have any work to do, so you'd get into all kinds of trouble, and that didn't happen. Other forms of work took the places of churning butter and chopping wood and fetching water from the river. I'm so glad we don't have to do any of those things anymore. But you'll notice too, and I'll leave it at this, you'll notice too that it was by alleviating the need to do those menial tasks, for the most part, chopping wood, hauling water, tending the vegetable garden for food that you would eat, feeding the chickens, churning the butter, all those things. Once those things became automated and they disappeared from the average person's workday, other things took their place. There were other forms of work, and what happened was this propelled technology forward. This made life easier, more comfortable. Imagine going to the dentist and not having the benefit of, I know they don't call it Novocaine anymore, anesthesia, let's say. That'd be a real drag to go back to the time when you couldn't have a little bit of numbing effect if they had to do some work on one of your teeth, and so many other things besides. So I think about those things too. And it is true, I do have a kind of the glass is half full approach to things. And I am not unaware that there are really serious potential for bad things with AI, just like there are bad things with the internet. But if you and I, as human beings, use these tools in a virtuous way with an eye toward improving things and, yes, freeing up time for more leisure to do other things. But think about prayer. Think about the other things that could come full flower as a result of people not having to go to work every day. I see a trade-off, yes, but I see good things, not just bad things. How about this? Why don't you and I touch base in a couple of years after some of these things have played out, and we'll compare notes and we'll see. And maybe you'll have the last laugh. Maybe I'll have the last laugh. Or maybe we'll both be laughing.
Isn't there a scary middle ground, though, where when we're in the in-between of what you're talking about?
You mean in the chronology of the development?
Right. So it's not, we just don't open a door into this wonderful world of AI is running everything, and we have all this leisure time to pray and read and write. So what happens when we're losing these jobs and
losing these jobs?
We're losing these
there's
jobs,
no happily ever after.
And we're not at the leisure point yet. And so I still have a mortgage, and I have kids that I need to feed, and so I'm struggling, and my industry's gone. And I'm not saying this is a bad thing. This is just a question that's kind of popped into my head right now as you were talking about this. What about this middle moment that's coming?
Yes, I'm thinking about, and I hope I have this right, but I think that General Electric used to be, I think its world headquarters were in Schenectady, New York. And the reason I seem to remember this, and correct me if I'm wrong on this issue, I got corrected the other day, and rightfully so, because I said that that terrible song, Me and Mrs. Jones, was by Major Harris, but it wasn't. It was by Billy Paul, and a sharp-eared person corrected me on that. So if I'm wrong about this, please correct me. But I think that Schenectady, New York, was the global headquarters for General Electric. And it was basically, it was the game in town. And we're talking tens of thousands of people who were employed by General Electric, making all kinds of things that are no longer necessary now. All those, and this is to your question, sirs, all those people lost their jobs. But they didn't just go live in a van down by the river, the Mohawk River, by the way. What did they do? They got other jobs. And this is like a cycle that you see over and over again. I mentioned the Industrial Revolution, and I'm trying to give an honest answer to your question, Cyrus. These things happen where, because of a technological advance, there is that, how did you put it, the frightening middle ground, or the...
Right.
Yeah, where people do indeed lose their jobs. And that is sad. I don't wish that on anybody. But it's happened before many times over, and everything worked out. Maybe not for every single person, but as a whole, it doesn't matter that you don't have tens of thousands of people now on assembly lines building things in General Electric factories in Schenectady, because they've all gone on to do other things now.
That's a great point.
What do you think about that?
I like that. And I think the march towards improving our lives has to continue. Like, we should never stop the march forward just because we're comfortable now and we understand what's happening now. So I always think of the ice harvest industry in Wisconsin. It was huge. So before we had...
That was for ice boxes?
Right. Before refrigerators, we needed to keep things cold. And so they'd ship ice all over the world. It was a giant industry. That's a lot of jobs. And then refrigerators come out. I could imagine the people that did the ice harvesting were not very happy about refrigerators. But enough time passes by, would anybody want to go back to ice harvesting?
Not me.
Not me.
That's a good point.
Love having fresh ice.
Yeah, you push your glass against the lever on your refrigerator and ice cubes come out.
It's pretty nice.
Yeah. And they don't have algae in them. Lake water, I guess. No, that's a great example. And here's the question that I ask rhetorically. Where did all those ice harvesters go? When they lost their job from one day to the next, did they just sit there and rot or what? No, they went and they got other jobs. Maybe they started working for the refrigerator factory, because they don't need the ice boxes anymore. So I think that is... It's a cycle that's happened over and over and over again. We just happen to be in a very interesting one now because of the rapidity, I guess, of the evolution, the way it's changing so quickly, the way things are moving so quickly. who knows what it's going to be like 18 months from now. Well, we'll have this conversation again, Cyrus. I'm pretty confident. 888-914. Oh, speaking of AI, have I got a story for you? 888-914-9149. You'll never guess AI got out into the wild, and this is ChatGPT. I'll tell you all about that. It got out of its enclosure, and not in a good way. I'll tell you about that when we come back.
That was the best of the week on Relevant Radio. The best way to listen to the best of the week is on the Relevant Radio app. Free and always free. Download and share the #1 free Catholic app today in the App Store.